What's up, nerds? I thought I would go ahead and make this video to explain how hunting works in Kamura. This way, people who feel intimidated by how much tutorial talking there is at the beginning of Rise can have a more digestible way of seeing it. I'm going to cover everything from low rank to master rank. So, I'll have special little bullet points across the video, so keep an eye out for them on the timeline if you're looking for something specific. Before we can start with the hunting aspect of being a hunter, we need to talk about what to do before you even start the hunt. At the beginning of the game, you're not going to have anything really aside from your starting gear that you begin the game with. But as you play, you will eventually unlock materials and the ability to craft armor, so you're going to want to keep an eye on that. What ultimately you craft is best, and what you wear and what you use, that's ultimately best up to your decision. Like, experiment around, look through it all, decide what works best for you. I personally always go with an evade extender build, as any who is familiar with Monster Hunter can tell by the armor they're seeing right now. I like to have extra dodge window. It helps save my life more often than it doesn't. But that's just my style. Someone else may have a different style, and there's nothing wrong with that. So mix, match, experiment, find what works for you. When it comes to weapons, the same can be said. I am not the guy to go to if you want a tutorial on how to use your various different weapons, but if you would like to see something like that, let me know and I'll see what I can do about negotiating with Armored. He's played every weapon in the game, so he knows what he's doing. Most weapons in this game have a mechanic called sharpness. Now, the sharpness you are seeing on your screen right now, don't get used to that. You will not be seeing sharpness like that for a very, 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 very long time. Like, not until you are late into master rank. Sharpness is something to keep in mind because it dictates what your weapons can hit and how much damage they do. As you attack the monster, your weapon will continuously lose sharpness. Once it gets down to, I would say, yellow or orange for low rank, that's when you need to use a whetstone and tend to that. Speaking of which, let's talk about something this game introduced: palamutes. Buddies are something that you're going to be relying very heavily on if you want any chance of getting far in Monster Hunter anything. You're going to want to hire a nice surplus of buddies, which you can do from this guy here, Iori. He has a bunch of preset buddies that you can purchase, but you can also build your own to an extent. Though if I'm being honest, it's not really worth the time and effort into custom designing every single little buddy, especially since most of them are going to be working in the background anyways. One of the things you'll be sending your buddies out to do is Meowcenary missions. Meowcenary missions are pretty self-explanatory. You send them out to a map that you have access to. They hunt a variety of different things that are shown on the list where you select. And then, over the course of 5 quests that you complete, they will be doing their jobs. And once you've completed 5 missions, you'll get a notification saying that the Meowcenaries have returned. You go and check in on them, and they will cash in everything that they were able to find. This can help keep you from needing to grind the lower value stuff by a fair degree. It also gets you a healthy amount of scrap, which is going to be useful for getting your buddies armored up. Another thing you'll be using buddies for is the Argosy. The Argosy is how you can get a lot of non-monster material items in pretty high quantities. It's worth it to make sure that they are always going after something that you need ample supply of. For me, for example, I have the Argosy picking up stuff I need for my traps and trank bombs, as those are pretty essential tools. I don't need to tell you if you're familiar with Monster Hunter, and if you're not familiar with Monster Hunter, I'll tell you right now that yes, they are quite essential. Using Anjanath here as an example, every single monster has elemental resistances and advantages. As you can see here on this little chart, fire attacks do pretty much nothing against an Anjanath. But using water will allow you to deal more damage. If you look here on the left, you'll also be able to see just how effective the different types of weapons are. You've got slasher weapons like sword and shield, dual blades, long swords, great sword, not now alpha. You've got piercing weapons like lance, gun lance, and bow, and then you've got blunt weapons like the hammer and the bow, and the hunting horn, etc. So it's like you have plenty of options, and what weapon you use does matter. So keep that in mind as you're going up against the various monsters that you're hunting, because it could mean the difference between getting out of there alive or not. When you start a hunt, the first thing you always need to do is go to the supply chest. When you're at the supply chest, you will find some quest items exclusive first aid and rations. These items do not leave with you when you are done, so there is no reason to be stingy with them. Use them as liberally as you need. It gives you good healing and stamina recovery without digging into your own resources, allowing you to build a stockpile for when you inevitably need to start digging into your own stockpile. And trust me, there's going to be some monsters that test you, especially if you play as frugally as I do with your armor. Before going out on any hunts, you're gonna want to eat. Not only does eating increase your health and your stamina at the beginning of the hunt, but it also makes it so that it also gives you a certain passive buffs depending on your luck when you eat. What you're seeing right now is a list of every single Dongo combination in the game that you're capable of unlocking. You will not have access to all of these at the beginning of the game, but it's worth the time and effort to go through all of these that you do have access to and decide for yourself which ones that you think are the most important. And for ones that you're going to want to end up using frequently, you can tell Yomogi to save them to a preset, so that way you can just automatically select a pre-existing combination. It speeds things along and helps keep things streamlined. If you're hunting a monster with a tail that can be severed, like Anjanath for example, you want to make sure to prioritize cutting that tail off for a couple of reasons. The first and most obvious reason is it's an extra carve. When you're trying to get materials from monsters, the more carves you can get off a monster, the better. Another reason is that monsters that do have severable tails have monster materials that you can only get by severing the tails. And, in certain cases, if you sever their tail, it will significantly hinder their ability to fight you. Rathian, for example, loses her best weapon if you cut her tail off. Like, she can still hit you with it, but you can't really blame Rathian for sniping you if that's the case. The buddies have various different roles, at least the Palicos do. There's a few that I don't know off the top of my head, but they're showing now on your screen. Each one has their own different advantages and perks. I always go with the healer because, as you'll see with more and more of the hunting videos of me and Armored that come out, Nikori's hunting horn and other abilities that she learns throughout the story are the only reason I'm able to win some of these hunts. I can't even pretend that it's mostly my skill. No, a lot of it is because Nikori was able to keep me on my feet. Wyvern riding a monster is a very important skill to learn if you want to get the upper hand on more difficult monsters. In order to mount a monster, you need to deal enough damage to them that has a blue flash. And there are two ways to do blue flashing damage. You hit them with an aerial attack, or you hit them with a wire dash move. Wire dash moves are attacks that are performed using the game's new feature, wire bugs. This is another thing you're gonna want to experiment with them to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. But the more of these that you hit the monster with, the faster that they will become rideable. Once they are rideable, you've got two options. You can smash them into a bunch of walls, or you can run them over to another monster that isn't your target, launch them into that monster, which will make that monster immediately rideable, in which case you're then launched off of the monster you were originally riding. You can then ride the monster that you just launched into, and use that monster to fight against your target. As you're seeing here, when I use the Blood Orange Bishaten against Anjanath, it's an extremely effective tool that helps speed things along, which is a real game changer when it comes to the more difficult monsters. This is a technique you're going to want to rely on almost exclusively when it comes to Wyvern riding in low and high rank, as there's really no reason to just crash a monster into walls over hunting for a different monster, unless you are just so far away that you don't think you'd be able to reach them within the time limit. Once you do hit Master Rank, though, you're going to want to learn the roads of the different maps, because there's going to be some changes. These strange endemic life things that cling onto the walls, they respond and trigger to different stimuli, mostly from monsters launching into their walls. It deals extra damage, more often than not dealing elemental damage. So if you and your fellow hunters play your cards right, you can devastate a monster by ramming them into the right walls in Master Rank. Speaking of learning the environment, you're gonna want to keep an eye out for Spira Birds. Spira Birds are permabuffs that last for the entirety of the hunt. It's important to go after these Spira Birds whenever you're battling a monster that you aren't entirely certain you can handle on your own. And by the time you get to Master Rank, the Spira Birds are damn near essential. It is one of the game's shortcomings in mine and Armored's opinion, but at the same time, going after the Spira Birds, once you have a route picked out and you commit to it, it's not that big of an inconvenience, especially if you can segue immediately into riding a non-target monster to bring into battle against your target. So it kinda works out if you get everything right. You won't always, but sometimes you will. Another thing to keep an eye out is useful endemic life. Good examples are the various different toads: sleep toad, poison toad, blast toad. There's the beetles: fire beetle, water beetle, thunder beetle. There's Escurgo, I think is what it's called. There is the brew hare. Yes, the brew hare. You're going to want to keep an eye out for brew hares. Puppet spider lets you automatically ride a monster, so that's also super helpful. They're all over the place, and there's plenty others that I didn't list here. They all have different values, and in my opinion, the best ones as far as offense goes are the puppet spider and the thunder beetle. The puppet spider is self-explanatory. You instantly ride the monster. You don't gotta risk your health fighting it to get it to the point where you can ride it. The thunder beetle is useful because when a monster is hit with thunder blight, they are much more susceptible to being knocked down if they are hit on the head. So you want to make sure that once you hit them with a thunder beetle, you can barrage their head with a pretty quick series of attacks so that they go down, so that you can hit them with your harder series of attacks. At this point, I've covered pretty much everything you need to know about low rank and high rank. When it comes to how the monsters fight between low rank and high rank, The only real difference is that high rank deals more damage and has more health. That's realistically it. Master rank is where the game really starts to test you. Master rank will give monsters new and extended moves. They'll deal ridiculously more damage. And the further in you go, a lot of the newer monsters are going to have attacks that will automatically one-shot you regardless of how much health you have or what your defense stat is. So, it's very important that you get really good at dodging, and it's one of the reasons why I use the Evade Extender build. I think I've covered pretty much everything I can about monster hunting in Rise that will make sure that you know what you're expecting when it comes to the basics. The only other thing I would say is that if you are brand new to Monster Hunter, like if you've never played a Monster Hunter game before and this is your first one, when you're starting out, do the quests from Hinoa. They are all low rank. The monsters are particularly weaker than in standard low rank, so they're a really good way to dip your toe in. Besides, all of the low rank urgent quests go through her anyways, so it's better to just go ahead and work with her for the first portion of the game. Once you hit high rank, or if you are already pretty familiar with Monster Hunter, and you're going into this game just to see how different it is, then you're going to want to be in the Gathering Hub, which is going to be how you do most of high rank and some of master rank. I'm pretty sure that's it. If I left something out, all you pro hunters, let me know in the comments. I might make an addendum if there is enough. If not, you'll figure it out. I'm sure of it. I believe in you. If you would like to see a tutorial video on all the different weapons, let me know in the comments as well. I will talk to Armored about it. No promises, but I'll see what I can do. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 200 subscribers at the moment. I am tantalizingly close, and I know you guys can help me get there. Make sure you ring the bell so that way you always know when a new video is coming out. I post a new video every day of the week. I take the weekends off. Be sure to check out my buddy Tyler Crux. He does a lot of fun stuff over on his channel, like this video. Be sure to check it out if you haven't already. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.